Hello, and welcome to this incredible testimony of God's protection and divine intervention. Today, I have the privilege of sharing a life-changing story, one that I believe will stir your heart and remind you of God's unfailing love and His power to save. In life, we all face moments where we feel vulnerable, uncertain, and even afraid. But it is during these times that God's presence becomes most evident. This testimony is a powerful reminder that God sees us in our darkest hours, and He is always there to deliver us when we call on Him. The story you're about to hear is not my own, but it's a testimony from someone who experienced firsthand how God's grace spared their life in the midst of a terrible, life-threatening situation. A terrifying vehicular collision that could have easily ended in tragedy. But by God's hand, they were spared. This story isn't just about surviving a crash. It's about surviving by the grace of God. It's about understanding that even when everything seems to fall apart, when all hope feels lost, God has a purpose, and He is working in the background, orchestrating everything for our good. As you listen to this testimony, I pray that you'll be reminded of God's faithfulness, that He is our protector, and that no matter the situation, He has the final say. This story is about faith, survival, and the undeniable truth that our Heavenly Father holds our lives in His hands. I invite you to listen closely and allow this testimony to ignite a renewed sense of hope in your own life. As you hear how this person came face to face with the reality of a life-threatening event and was spared, I hope you will be encouraged to trust in God's unchanging nature and His ability to see us through any storm. Thank you for joining me, and I pray this testimony reminds you that God is still in the business of performing miracles. Keep listening and let His power and faithfulness fill your heart with peace. Stay tuned. God's hand is truly at work in this powerful story.
I want to share a testimony of God's incredible grace and protection in my life. This is a story of how I was saved from a terrible vehicular collision, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was only by His hand that I walked away alive. It all started on a seemingly normal day. I was driving home from work, feeling the usual fatigue after a long day, but nothing out of the ordinary. The weather was clear, the roads were dry, and I felt like I was in a familiar routine. But what happened next completely changed my perspective on life and reminded me of God's unshakable protection. I was driving down a busy highway, going about 60 miles per hour. I remember feeling like everything was going smoothly, until, out of nowhere, another car swerved directly into my lane. It happened so fast, I had no time to react. The other vehicle was speeding and clearly lost control. In an instant, I was face to face with a massive collision. Time seemed to slow down. I could feel my heart racing as the car in front of me veered wildly toward me. I knew in that moment that I was about to be in a crash. There was no way to avoid it. But then, right before the collision, something miraculous happened. As the other car slammed into me, it felt like a force beyond my understanding wrapped me in a shield of protection. The impact was intense. My car spun out of control, and I remember bracing for the worst, praying, "God, please protect me." I could hardly believe what was happening. But when the car finally came to a stop, I was in shock, but I was alive. There was no broken glass, no major damage to my body, and I was able to open the door and get out of the vehicle. When I looked at my car, it was clear that this crash should have been much worse. The front end of my car was completely crushed, and the other vehicle was in a similar condition. Yet, despite the violent force of the crash, I walked away without a scratch, without any serious injuries. I know this was nothing short of God's divine intervention. There is no other explanation for why I am still here today. I had angels surrounding me, keeping me safe when I should have been seriously hurt, or even worse, gone. I've heard stories of people being in similar accidents and not surviving, but God had other plans for me. Psalm 91 verse 11 says, "For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." I truly believe that in that moment, God sent His angels to shield me from harm. I wasn't aware of it at the time, but I now understand that God's hand was on me, keeping me safe in a situation where the odds were stacked against me. After the accident, I was in awe of God's protection, but I also began to reflect on my life. How many times had I been careless or taken my safety for granted? How many times had I rushed through life without stopping to thank God for His countless blessings? This accident was a wake-up call, a reminder that life is fragile, and that God is the one who holds us in His hands. In the days that followed, I couldn't help but thank God over and over for saving my life. I realized that I had been given a second chance, not just to live, but to live with purpose. This experience deepened my faith in God's ability to protect, to provide, and to guide us even in the most dangerous situations. Every time I get in a car or go anywhere, I remember that I am not alone. I trust that God's hand of protection is with me. I know that whatever comes my way, He is in control. This accident wasn't just an event, it was a testimony of His love, mercy, and faithfulness. If you're going through something difficult, or if you feel like you're facing an impossible situation, I encourage you to trust in God. He is our refuge and strength, a very present help in times of trouble. Psalm 46 verse 1. No matter how scary or overwhelming life may seem, we can trust that His protection and His promises will never fail. God saved my life in that terrible vehicular collision, and I will forever be grateful for His hand of grace over me. To God be the glory for His unfailing love and mercy.
As we come to the end of this powerful testimony, we cannot help but be reminded of the unmeasurable grace and mercy of our Heavenly Father. We thank God for His protection, His deliverance, and for always being with us, even in our most challenging moments. His mercies are new every morning, and His faithfulness is unchanging. Truly, if it were not for His hand, we would not be here today. God has shown us that no matter how difficult the road may seem, He is always ready to intervene and save us. We are grateful for His faithfulness in every situation and His ability to turn what seems like a tragedy into a testimony of His power and grace. This is the same God who is watching over you right now, guiding you, and preparing you for the next chapter of your life. And now, friends, as we reflect on this testimony, let it inspire you. It's important to remember that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Revelation 12 verse 11. Your story is powerful, and it's meant to encourage and uplift others. No matter what you've been through, your testimony has the power to bring healing, hope, and inspiration to someone else who may be facing a similar struggle. If you have a testimony of God's faithfulness in your life, whether it's about His protection, His provision, or how He's turned your trials into triumphs, we would love to hear from you. Your story could be the very thing someone else needs to hear to keep pushing forward in their faith. To share your testimony with us, simply send it via email to the address listed in the description below. We are excited to feature your story on our channel and help spread the message of God's goodness far and wide. Remember, your testimony could be the breakthrough someone else is praying for. Thank you for listening and for being a part of this journey of faith. We trust that God is using your life for His glory, and we are honored to walk alongside you in sharing His truth. Keep the faith, stay encouraged, and never forget that God is with you, today and always. God bless you, and we look forward to hearing your story soon. If this message resonated with you and you're eager to explore more about faith, trust, and navigating life's challenges, we invite you to join our community. By hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications, you'll never miss out on our upcoming videos filled with inspiration, practical insights, and heartfelt stories. Together, we'll dive deeper into the lessons of hope, resilience, and the power of trusting God, even when life feels uncertain. Each week, we share valuable content designed to uplift your spirit and encourage your journey. Whether you're seeking answers to tough questions or simply looking for a supportive community, you're in the right place. Let's grow together in faith and find strength in our shared experiences. Your next breakthrough could be just a click away. Join us today, and let's embark on this journey together.